morning and welcome everyone that's here. Our committee does have a quorum, and we would like to welcome Melanie Dargo. Melanie?
Hello, I'm Melanie Darko. I have exactly 24 hours of experience here at the South Carolina Department of Education. I've been hired in the Office of General Counsel. I'm really looking forward to this opportunity and working with you all, so thank you so very much.
Well, we'll consider you the new Henry. And we always appreciated his verbose comments and his humor. So any combination of that will be welcome. So, yeah, but welcome. We're glad to have you.
We missed the bow tie, so maybe she'll have to put some bows on.
Yeah, you'll do something.
All right, I'll work that out.
Yeah. So welcome to everyone. We do have a quorum. Is there any objection to approving the minutes as presented? Hearing none, the minutes are approved by unanimous consent. And is there any objection to approving the agenda as presented? Hearing none, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. So welcome to all of those in attendance, and thank you for your interest in the work of the State Board of Education. And just board members, just remember, any comments or questions that you have, please speak directly into the microphone so your comments can be recorded. And there is no one signed up for public comment today. So we have no items for approval, but we do have one information item, and we will now hear from Phil Cease on the 2026 General Assembly Legislative Session. So entertain us.
I don't know about entertaining. Good morning, Chair and members of the committee. So this morning I'm going to give you, similar to what I did last year, an update on the laws that passed this year and any responsibilities or actions y'all need to take because of those, and then a budget update, because thankfully it looks like now we will have one. So new laws from this year. This is just going in numerical order. So S70 School Board Ethics, this is one that y'all will have a due out on. It requires all school boards, including charter school boards, to adopt a model code of ethics. Y'all will be the ones to adopt that model code of ethics, much like model policies y'all have adopted over the past couple of years that then require adoption at the local level. They have 3 months to adopt that model code after you have adopted it. Additionally, and this is more department focused, the department will develop training for newly elected and re-elected board members. That training must be completed the first year by May of 2027, and then for every year after that, 9 months after the school board member takes office. If the local board members do not complete the training and don't complete it within the cure period, they will be referred to you, and then you will refer them to the governor for removal from office. Again, the major action here is the adoption of model code of ethics, and hopefully y'all will not have to refer any local board members for removal from office. Big difference here is currently the School Boards Association is the only entity that does training, and they only do training for newly elected school board members. So if you've been in office for 20 years, you were just required to get it once, and then there are really no teeth in the current law. And I can take questions as we go if y'all have them. For 416 school expulsion, this just requires a student who knowingly brings a firearm to school or on school property must be expelled for no less than 1 year. I believe the law before the change, if you bought a firearm, period, whether you knew it or not. It also requires expulsion for a student who knowingly and willfully threatens to use a weapon and cause bodily harm to another student or school district employee. And then it has some requirements under that. There's no state board action required under here. Just a quick clarification, the state board action deals with regs or model policies or model codes. So there's no regulation change that we anticipate needing to be made on this one.
So Phil, is the key word there knowingly?
Yes. So let's say hypothetically, I'm driving my dad's truck to school, and in the box in the back of the truck, there's a firearm. If I didn't know it was there, then expulsion, I wouldn't qualify under this law. Whereas now, if it is there, I would, or prior to this. 454 Charter Accountability Act. This was a big one this year. There's a lot of different requirements for the different entities. So Department of Education, we provide guidance and technical assistance and continuous improvement support. Charter schools must post their annual budgets and audits, transaction registers, and key financial operational information on their websites. And there's a new annual authorizer review process, and then authorizers must follow clear statewide standards for application review, oversight, and compliance. And then we will need to update the regs, so y'all will be seeing those at some point over the next couple of months.
Phil, can I
Yes.
ask, particularly that one about the authorizers, was there an issue with that? Is that, I'm just wondering,
So it
I'll
had
just
been,
ask that. Was
and I
there an
can't
issue
give you the
with
exact number of years, but it had been a while since the charter law had a review.
Right.
And so I think they were kind of fixing a lot of things that they perceived to be issues.
that? Okay,
So yeah, I mean, I do think there was some need for cleanup, and this bill hopefully addresses that.
okay.
508 Monument Memorial Protection. No due out for y'all here on this one, but just for your awareness, this applies to all political subdivisions and state agencies, so schools and districts are included in this. May not relocate, remove, disturb, or alter monuments or name structures without a joint resolution from the General Assembly. For example, if the local high school named a football field after me, and then later it was found that I was doing prop bets on JV football, and they wanted to remove my name from the structure, they would need to get a joint resolution from the General Assembly to remove my name from the football field. The Department of Archives and History will be the ones responsible for issuing regulations on this one. S711, crossing guard and school requirements. So before this law passed, crossing guards could only stop traffic to allow students or their parents to cross. This would allow crossing guards with the appropriate training to direct traffic. So there's some issues in school districts where if local law enforcement is not available to direct traffic, it's caused some issues because crossing guards technically can only stop traffic. They can't direct it. This would allow them, again, with proper training, to be certified to direct traffic. The local law enforcement agencies will be trained by the Criminal Justice Academy and then provide that training to whoever the school districts designate. 3195, y'all may get some questions on this, and Abby is here if y'all have additional questions. Is the unstructured and self-directed recess. This changes the requirements for the amount of time a week. PE and physical activity are allowed in K through 5 and then grades 6 through 8. It also adds additional recess requirements. There's no state board action required on this, but you may hear about it from some districts. Any questions on that one?
Well, what is self-directed recess?
That is what you would typically think is recess. Right, yep. You put them out on the playground and let them get after it. Yep. High School Athletic Association, from y'all's standpoint, nothing really changes here, but just for your awareness, reconstitutes the governing body of the high school league and also subjects them to the Legislative Audit Council review. They have to present an annual budget to the House and the Senate budget committees, and then again, they must testify before Ways and Means and Finance Committee. Public school grading, this is another one y'all may hear about, and Abby's here, and I think we'll talk about this later today, correct, with UGP. So this basically eliminates grade floor policies. Basically, the grade students get, or the grade they get in the grade book is the grade that they earned. There's not a floor that's allowed, and then they are only eligible for credit recovery and content recovery if they complete all required assignments. It also, the last part about the use of district benchmark assessments is currently in proviso for this past fiscal year, so this should not be necessarily a new thing for them. Districts that don't follow these required or new requirements could lose up to 10% of their state aid classroom funding. So that's the general gist for that. And then also, y'all will create a uniform grading policy task force to review that, and those recommendations will be sent to the General Assembly. I believe that will come up later today. Last new law from this year, private providers. So I want to be clear on this. This just requires districts to consider, not allow, but requires them to consider on a case-by-case basis requests from parents or private providers to provide medically necessary services to a student during school hours. So ABA therapy is kind of the big push behind this. Y'all will develop a model policy setting parameters for private providers, and there are a good bit of model or minimum requirements in the law that must be addressed by that model policy. And then next year, just as a reminder, since this was the second year of a 2-year session, any bills that had passed one chamber or both chambers and we're just kind of waiting will expire and then have to start over in January. So we'll be back at it mid-January. Any questions on any of these?
Phil, can you go back?
Yes.
Can you go back to the high school league slide?
Yes.
And I'm assuming nothing really changes there as far as the cases that come to us.
Correct.
Correct?
Yes, correct.
That last line is painful.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and I think as going forward, there are some cases that come to us that clearly should have been like scheduling.
Right.
It's a prime, if that could somehow in legislation be approved before or handled before it gets to us, I think it'd save a lot of time for the athletes or whoever's involved. But that to me is the one that a bona fide move for a high school student from one schedule to another is going to impact
Right.
and that's no fault to them or anybody. So if that could, rather than waiting to come all the way to us, if that could be handled somewhere prior to us, I think would be a good thing. Just my opinion.
The hope in the General Assembly changing this law was that some processes would change as well, and so I would imagine we will hopefully see some fruit of that, especially with regards to the amount of appeals we have and the reasons for them. So.
More about recess. I'm sure you know why I'm concerned about recess.
What would you like to know about recess?
What is this change? What's the change?
So and Abby, you make sure I'm not getting off the rails here, but basically this ensures that students get recess on a daily basis. There are some schools that I think were allegedly either shortening it or eliminating it depending on the day and what needed to happen. That's one of the big things that the bill sponsor wanted. And then additionally, it expands the amount of minutes or hours a year that students get in PE. Right. I will have to go back and look because I know that was discussed as you can't withhold recess for punitive reasons. I can't remember if that was included or not. Yeah, I don't think it's in the bill, but I'll go back and check and get back to you. You're welcome.
And that's daily for elementary and middle school?
So for the recess, it's at least 20 minutes for 4K through 5. Middle school, I don't know that it required recess for middle school. I think it was just PE is what addressed, yep, just PE.
And I would assume what this is saying is a elementary principal in your schedule, you would have a 30-minute or whatever time allotted for PE, and then. But I think that's what that's saying.
PE is a great motivator for getting that work done that you didn't get, but if that's considered punitive,
Right.
because you didn't finish your work and I'm giving you this extra time to finish it, schools are going to need to know
Yeah, I'll go back and check and get back to you on whether it's in there or not.
that you didn't finish your work. It's not your behavior, it's the work, or maybe that's
Right. I'll check and get back to you. You're welcome. All right, so,
Philip,
yes.
one quick question on the board training. Is that online training?
So we will offer it in person, and we're working through the details on that, but I believe it will be in person in Columbia. All right, budget update.
Can
and
I
I'm-
ask one question?
Yes.
The charter school accountability,
Mm-hmm.
so they've not had to been required to post their audits and stuff until now on their individual audits on their website and that sort of thing?
I'm not exactly, and I could go back and look at the law before it was changed to see what they were required to post. I know they're required to do it now.
Yeah, and it says key financial information. Like one of the things that I know school districts have to do is that the administrative cost report, which is kind of like I always call it an analysis of overhead. Is
Right.
that something that they'll have to do as well?
I can go back
Okay.
and look and see
Okay.
what was in this,
Okay, all right,
what was in that law exactly.
sure, thank you.
Yep. All right, so budget update. So just where we are in the process, the conference committee, which is 3 House members, 3 senators, has met and adopted a conference report. The legislature is returning next week and will adopt the conference report, hopefully. The governor has 5 days to issue vetoes after that, and then the budget will go into effect. So what you are looking at right now is technically tentative, but hopefully will be in effect in the next, I'd say, 2 weeks. So first on funding, and these are not all the funding lines, but these are the major ones. All cells of the state minimum teacher salary schedule were increased by $2,000. So the starting teacher salary right now will be $50,500 across the state. Some districts are higher. There's $75 million for a rural and charter school infrastructure fund that the department will have. There's a committee that will review applications and look at criteria and award funding based on that. That is one-time funding, but we would hopefully like to see recurring funding on that to kind of start a rural and charter school infrastructure bank. $20 million for school facility safety upgrades. Y'all are familiar with this because I believe you approve the report every year. This is the 4th year that has been funded. $38 million, 34 of which is non-recurring and 4 is recurring for high-quality instructional materials. And then $30 million for school bus lease and purchase. There's $28 million in non-recurring and $2 million in recurring. There's also once unclaimed lottery prizes get above $20 million, I believe, we will get the excess of that for school bus lease and purchase. 2 big things I want to point out, while in the grand scheme of things are fairly small lines, they do matter. The $4 million in recurring for HQMI and the $2 million in recurring for school bus lease purchase. That's something we worked hard on this year. Those are things we always know we need. We will need to always buy instructional materials. We will always need to buy school buses. So encouraging the legislature to put those in recurring funds is helpful because we don't have to go back, after hopefully a couple of years of recurring funds being added, our request won't be as large every year. So that was encouraging to see those lines or get funding added in recurring lines. On the proviso side, again, these are not official yet, but I feel fairly confident they will be passed into law for this current fiscal year. 1.112 employment contracts for superintendents. This was in the department's budget request and basically says that a superintendent whose contract is terminated cannot get, for lack of a better term, a golden parachute. This ensures that they can get basically, I think, the remaining of their contract year, but no more than 1 contract year's payout when they leave. Capital funding for schools, 1.113. This is the governing language for the $75 million in rural and charter school bank funding. Interlocal cooperative purchasing pilot allows the department to select up to 10 districts to participate in an interlocal cooperative purchasing pilot program. That application is currently out, and I believe the application closes sometime in mid-August, but we've had some good response from there. And then 1.122 and 1A76 supplemental instructional materials. 1A76 is the EIA portion of the provisos. That allows the department the department may spend up to $5 million on supplemental instructional materials. I have made folks that are interested in that aware that we will not have $5 million to spend on supplemental instructional materials since we did not get our full HQIM ask. So all of our HQIM money will be going to HQIM, and we will not have any left over for supplemental. In the future, if this stays in and we do exceed, that is an option. And then 1.125 addresses school bus speed limits on the interstate. This increases the minimum speed because there was some concern brought to us from districts that the current minimum speed was dangerously low. And so this bumps that up for activity buses on the interstate. Again, those are not all the proviso changes, but just some of the major ones. Yes, ma'am. For building codes, and yes, I am 95% confident in saying they are under the same building codes that traditional public schools are. Under this proviso, they have additional requirements that must be met to access the funding.
Philip, on the earmark side,
Mhm.
were those, explain to us, the earmarks were put into another.
So as best I can, I will explain it to you. So there were earmarks in both the House and Senate versions of the budget, which that became one of the points of contention between the different chambers. And so what they did was they moved all of what they designated earmarks into a pot. And there is a set amount of money that will not fund all of those. And there will be a committee, last I heard, of 3 members from each chamber, not necessarily the same conference committee members, which will meet allegedly some point in September to review those requests and assign dollar amounts to those requests. So,
Philip, explain again, what is the interlocal cooperative purchasing pilot?
right. So it gives the department the ability to choose up to 10 districts to participate in an interlocal cooperative purchasing pilot program. I'm not a procurement expert, but essentially what that is it allows a district to go in and get group pricing for projects, whether it's roofing or electronic purchasing or other things. That is probably an oversimplification, but that should get you in the general area of what that is. Any other questions, comments, concerns? And that's it for me.
All right, any other questions for Philip or comments? This is very good. This is very helpful for us to have. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yes, I will get them to you. Thank you.
I'm sure all of that, if you attended all those meetings, it was quite entertaining at
I
times.
attended enough of them.
Yeah, yeah. Is there any other business to come before this committee? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion and a second to adjourn.
Kreminger?
Kreminger made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Hanley is second. All in favor with aye? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.